Good afternoon. I wanted to go ahead and post my video response to Chapter 2. I'm still struggling with how to figure out, trying to figure out how to present my slides and record myself at the same time. So I will keep working on that. But I'm going to go ahead and get started because I do have several slides. So for Chapter 2, the topic being That's the Way We've Always Done It, a compelling case for change. I wrote mine specifically around the topic of educational interpreting. And I'm sorry if these are small for you to see. I'm going to try to figure out how to do this for next time. So examples of That's the Way We've Always Done It in my professional industry. And this is what part of what I'm writing my dissertation on, is the fact that for many years we have not professionalized the field of educational interpreting, and recently we're having some good progress with law and regulation that's going to be impacting that for the better. But the way we've always done it regarding to job title, job description, and salaries for educational interpreters. So for job title, the way we've always done it up until this point is we've given interpreters a variety of titles, none of which really encapsulated the true meaning of what the position is. Some of those examples are ASL interpreter. Well, not all deaf children use ASL. Transliterator, language facilitator, sign support staff, communication facilitator, communication support specialist, and augmentative communication facilitator. The tip here is that the appropriate name for the role is educational interpreter. The job description, that's the way we've always done it. People have always referred to educational interpreters as sign support staff. That they've been given additional duties that are not directly related to their primary role, which is interpreting for their deaf and hard of hearing students. Some of those examples are tutoring, teaching, running small groups, assessing, completing paperwork, grading, copying, laminating, prepping, teaching materials, putting up bulletin boards, classroom supervision and behavior management, assisting with state and district testing for hearing students, and other duties that's similar to those that are assigned to teaching assistants. And my tip here is the job description should be in line with what is indicated in IDEA, as well as South Carolina Department of Education best practices, as well as National Association of Interpreters in Education, as well as the EIPA, Boys Town National Research Hospital. In terms of salary, historically, the salary for educational interpreters has unfortunately been in line with what paraprofessionals are paid. This depends on the state you live in. It depends on the county within the state, and then it depends on the school district within that county. So lots of variation with the salary, not at all like what teachers receive, which is based directly on their level of education, their years of experience, and if they have national board certification. And I'm proposing, and the other stakeholders are proposing, that that's where we move. The range historically has been between $19,000 and $52,000. And to pay a professional that has advanced education and that has been that has many years of experience in the field and that has interpreter certification, that is just not adequate. And the tip here is that it should follow a teacher salary schedule. How does this hurt DHH deaf and hard of hearing children? And then I've just put some little snippets of information here. In 2006, the Registry of Interpreters for the Deaf, RID, found that 60% of the K-12 school districts sampled had unfilled educational interpreter positions. And part of that is because they're not wanting to pay educational interpreters as professionals. And so when educational interpreters aren't offered an adequate salary for the skills and education that they have, they won't accept the job. This situation is often resolved by hiring unqualified interpreters, and that does hurt our deaf and hard of hearing children. And in 2007, RID findings indicated that when a school district must fill a gap in coverage, most of them, and that's 54.3%, reported filling requests with non-certified interpreters. And that's very unfortunate. So the call for change. In 2016, the South Carolina Department of Education and Clemson University partnered together to create the South Carolina Educational Interpreting Center in order to undertake the cornerstones of service for in-service educational interpreters, school districts, the South Carolina Department of Education, and most importantly, deaf students and their parents. The progress that's being made is noted here from 2016 to 2020. The SCEIC demonstrated a significant track record of improving the skills and knowledge competencies of educational interpreters across the state. And in 2021, the funding was renewed, and we're so thankful for that. And the SCEIC continues to offer assessments, professional development, mentoring, and technical assistance for all full-time working educational interpreters in the state. New regulation, Code Law 59-33-120, requires the State Board of Education to establish regulations for the appropriate credentialing of sign language interpreters in the public and special schools in the state. So this is the moving forward. We're making progress. This has been in the works, I think, since 2013. The South Carolina Interpreters Act has been in the works since then. It's been modified many times. So that brings us to the next slide, which is, what is the appropriate job title? So the appropriate job title for someone providing communication access to deaf and hard of hearing children, and it's described fully here, but the appropriate job title is educational interpreter. The appropriate job description, which is indicated here, is that educational interpreting means to facilitate communication effectively and impartially between students who are deaf and hard of hearing and their hearing individuals, not only students and their peers, but also with their teachers, administrators, other staff, other teachers, service providers, parents, and of course their peers, for the purpose of providing access to the gen ed environment. Adequate salary, IDEA is, of course, the federal law that makes available a free, appropriate public education to children with disabilities in our nation. And IDEA itself, the federal law, classifies educational interpreters as related service providers, so their pay should reflect their level of education, their years of experience, and their certification, whether that be EIPA or national certification, and their professional knowledge and expertise as practitioners in the field, which is similar to how a teacher pay scale works for teachers. How does this help our DHH children? Improving the standard will provide DHH children with highly skilled and experienced educational interpreters that can provide them with equal access to their education. Educational interpreters are, in most cases, the only natural language model for the DHH children that they serve. This is critical in providing language support for developing children. And the reason that this is the case is because 90% of deaf children are born to hearing parents. And unfortunately, many of those hearing parents do not learn sign language. And so for most of our deaf and hard of hearing children who need a visual language to access their education, their educational interpreter is the person that's going to teach them that language. And so that needs to be provided by someone who is highly skilled and a native user of the language. And then when DHH children are accessing their education through a highly skilled educational interpreter, they can focus on learning content instead of constantly repairing communication. These are the milestones that we've seen over the last couple of years and then in moving forward. So in February of 2021, the bill was introduced to the House. This is the South Carolina Educational Interpreter Act. In 2022, May 11th, it was passed by the General Assembly. And then May 16th, 2022, the bill was signed by the governor. In 2024, of January the 1st, 2024, the Sign Language Interpreters Act went into effect. And the piece here that was missing was K through 12 education. So this is where the stakeholders, parents, educators, educational interpreters, and national and local organizations said, wait a minute, time out. We cannot pass this law without having regulations for K through 12 interpreting. So that has since been reviewed, it's been revised. That updated law was passed, and in August of 2025, this year, the regulation will begin to include K through 12 interpreting regulations. And this is what those regulations will look like. The South Carolina Interpreters Act will take shape over the next 10 years, and for next school year, 25-26, an educational interpreter must have an EIPA score of 3.2 out of a 5.0. They must pass the written test. They must have a high school diploma. I totally disagree with that. That is not acceptable. And 60 hours of professional development within 4 years. Moving forward, by school year 29-30, the educational interpreter must have a 3.7 out of a 5.0. They must pass the written test. They must have an associate's degree, and they still must obtain 60 hours of professional development in a 4-year time frame. And then by year 2033, 2034, that the EIPA requirement will be a 4.0 out of a 5.0. They must pass the written test, and at this point they're going to be requiring a bachelor's degree, and they will continue to require the 60 hours in a 4-year time frame for professional development. So obviously, you know, the reason that this is staggered like it is to provide an opportunity for the educational interpreters that have already been hired, that are already working in school districts, for school districts, to say this is coming down the pike, and this is what you're going to have to be ready for, and we're going to support you in meeting these milestones along the way, and so that interpreters know that they have got to also be working to meet these requirements, and giving them what I feel is more than adequate time to accomplish these. I hope you enjoyed my video, and I will see you on the next one.